Pastor Roy Gerhart from Galloway United Methodist Church in Franklin, Pennsylvania, sharing a few words of encouragement to help us follow after Jesus. Have you ever gotten caught in one of these self-closing doors like that, where it's pushing you along and tripping you up? Maybe you've gotten caught in one of those revolving doors that you encounter on the front end of some large commercial buildings, and you feel like you're being caught in a broom, sweeping you up and pushing you along, and you have no choice but to move. Pressures in life get a hold of us that way. Sometimes they trip us up, sometimes they push us along, making you and I feel like we have no choice but to go the direction that all of those pressures are moving us. Sometimes those pressures are internal, sometimes they're external from other people and from circumstances in our life. Now, over the next couple of weeks, we're following the story of Jacob and Esau. And particularly, we're interested in seeing the way in which God reshapes Jacob's life. And this is really powerful because Jacob has all kinds of pressures on him that can lead him down the wrong path. And we see those taking shape in his life right from his birth. Jacob has a character flaw, and it's pegged in his name, heel grabber. That's what Jacob means. He was given that name because he was holding on to his brother's heel when they were born. But it's a prophetic message about his character. And we see him becoming this tricky person who will reach out, grab you by the heel, and trip you up. Jacob begins to deal with his brother like that as they grow up. There's a point where Esau came to his brother starving, and instead of offering some food to his brother with compassion, Jacob saw it as an opportunity to profit himself and to cheat his brother out of his birthright. No, the birthright, you need to understand, is a legal standing. It's a legal standing that Esau has as the firstborn that entitles him to priority in inheritance. And in this family, that inheritance is not just about tangible property and financials. It's about God's promise. This promise that God gave Abraham that was passed on to Isaac and now will be passed on to one of his sons. A promise from God to bless them, to bless their descendants, and to bless the world through them. Well, Jacob steals that birthright from Esau, and Esau, sadly, didn't seem to value it enough to even fight for it. But this kind of a do whatever it takes to get ahead attitude that we see in Jacob is also reflected in some people around him, his mother in particular. Rebekah is also pushing Jacob along. Now, Rebekah had seen from the Lord when the boys were born, very clear sense of direction that Jacob is the one who would rise to the top, not Esau. And yet, she takes that on as kind of a mission in life, that she is willing to do whatever it takes to make sure Jacob gets to the top. So instead of trusting God and allowing God to make that unfold in his own time and his own way, Rebekah takes on the task. In fact, she will conspire with Jacob to once again cheat Esau out of his father's blessing. They actually deceive Isaac into believing that he is giving a blessing to Esau, but instead is putting that blessing on Jacob. This is very much like Jacob's grandmother, Sarah, who heard God's promise that I'm going to bless your descendants and said, I don't have any children. We don't have any descendants. I'm going to have to make something happen. And she came up with the plan through a surrogate to create descendants. And this simply created problems and byproducts of pain and disaster because she wouldn't wait for God to fulfill that promise in his own way. Rebekah here also creates all of those kinds of problems and tensions because here again, she and Jacob are not trusting in God to open those doors, but instead are trying to make it happen on their own. And Esau walks away from all of this, ready to kill his brother. You see, you and I are going to have to learn in our lives, just as Jacob does, that he can't just act as a selfish person, do the deceitful thing, and then say hashtag to God's glory and make it right. You and I have got to learn, just as Jacob will, that God will open the doors to fulfill his promises, that God's blessing will come forth from his hand, not from ours. And so that you and I have got to discover that we can trust God to open those doors and we can go through following him. Then we're on his heels, not as a deceitful heel grabber, but as a faithful follower of Jesus. May God bless you today, and as you share this good news, may God make you a blessing wherever he takes you.